you doing today, Paul? You seemed a little stabby before I started hitting recording.
Not doing good, Brad. You're familiar with the Cory Doctorow enshittification concept, right? That products and services, in particular in personal technology, start off as a win-win. They benefit the user in whatever ways. You go to Facebook and you connect with your friends and family. And then over time, it gets crappier and crappier and crappier. And you might notice some of the crappiness, right? We know Facebook changed the way the feed works. You're like, how come I'm not just seeing recent posts anymore? And then one day you wake up and you realize every single freaking post on this thing is an ad, a sponsored thing, some reel or whatever they call the stupid videos I don't want to see. And you can't turn it off, you can't change it, you can't fix it. And you're like, what have I gotten myself into? And that's enshittification. It happens everywhere. You get Netflix, it's easy to point to Spotify, which has podcasts you can't turn off, and now it's going to have audiobooks you're not going to be able to turn off, that I none of which I want. I would use this app to listen to music. It's a music app, or it was. Netflix has games, right? Closer to home, Windows, right? I made the case, Windows 11, right? Crapware in the start menu, ads all over the place, tracking you can't turn off, forced edge usage. It goes on and on and on. And last night, I'm getting ready. I'm going to Mexico in a week, and I need computers that I can use to work on the book for this update for 23H2. And they're all in a different state because another part of enshittification, dude, is CFRs and the way that Microsoft literally randomly applies app feature updates to computers now. And I mean like individual features, right? So I have computers that are on 23H2 and have Copilot, but not the new Teams app. I've got machines that are on 22H2 that do have one of the other things, but not the other. Like, it's freaking stupid. So I reset a computer last night. Took a long time. It usually goes pretty quick. I don't know what was going on there, but I didn't actually get to fully configure it until this morning. And I've seen yet another new behavior I've never seen before, and it is the most horrific freaking nightmare. And I can't, dude. I don't even know what to say. And I'll just to summarize, OneDrive is a big problem in Windows 11. There have been there are 3 different versions of OneDrive out in the world. You could have any one of those 3. I'm not going to go through that again, but that's a fact. And in 23H2, I think everyone knows they're going to start advertising this backup thing a lot more. It's in the Start menu. It's in File Explorer windows. If you go in Word, it save something. It will tell you get it back up. Don't do this. There's all kinds of reasons not to back up to OneDrive, by the way, including like applications that write stuff to like the Documents folder, and then you want to sync that between different computers for some reason, because if you install the app on the other computer, it won't even work with that. It will just keep overwriting it every single time you use a different computer. Anyway, Windows 11 introduced this concept where you set it up for the first time, and if you're Windows 11 Home, you just get OneDrive backup sync, only to 3 of the 5 folders. But again, Microsoft inconsistent. You don't even get to change it. You have to do it after the fact if you can even figure it out. Windows 11 Pro was supposed to give you the choice, and sometimes it does. But I install Windows more than anyone here knows, I bet, and I mean by hand, not by script. And that's not true, Brad. Windows 11 Pro sometimes doesn't give you the choice. But last night / this morning, I witnessed an all-new behavior, which was that Windows gave me the choice. With Pro, I said no to backup sync. I woke up this morning, installed some apps. I just deleted a shortcut from my desktop, and it said, hey, just as a reminder, when you delete from OneDrive, it goes to a recycle bin, so you can get it back. And I was like, that's interesting, because I told you last night not to sync this folder. And I checked, and sure enough, this frickin' thing, after the fact, after I had made the choice, started syncing my folders. And I can't, this is the way enshittification works is it's not something big that happens and it just freaks you out. It's that little things happen over time, and then there's the trigger that finally you're like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And this was, for me, the trigger. I've written so much about how important OneDrive is, because it is, and how you should use it if you're a Microsoft guy, because you should. But they're making it, you know what I mean? They've crossed the line. There's the pro and the con column. Windows 11, it's gotten close. I think OneDrive, it just hit the point. It's about to, and I don't think any normal users, mainstream non-technical people, will even notice, right? They'll just wonder one day why their OneDrive is filled up, and they'll start paying Microsoft a little bit, I guess, right? Because that's the solution.
Feel better?
No. This is the most awful thing in the world. And when people tell me, No, like
that
people
might
like,
be a
"Oh,
little
you're
overdramatic.
always freaking out about blah, blah, blah," whatever. Like, do people not understand what's at stake here? Like, seriously, like, is anyone going to argue against this? This is malicious. This is, like when you say I want to use Chrome as my browser and it uses Edge sometimes, malicious,
that's
right?
annoying.
This is maybe even worse. I mean, maybe it's certainly as bad. I'm tired of everything I use turning to shit.
It's such a stark contrast to when I load up Thurrott.com and what do I see as a puppy jumping through some leaves.
See, pretty
Just happy,
fun, yeah,
fun. Dolly
a lot
freak
of these
comes
problems would be solved if there were options to turn them off.
Yes,
right?
that would be.
And if when you did that, it respected it.
It's a no
I
touch.
respect this company's right to make money. I'm not trying to suggest that OneDrive or Microsoft should be like a charity. Just give us stuff. But this should be relationships should be win-wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't be toxic.
Well, they're putting ads in Copilot now, so you got that going. I mean, that's the least surprising
You had
thing.
to know this was coming, right?
Yeah.
When they said it was free, what did you think they meant? It's an online service that costs them a lot of money.
Yeah. It does cost a lot of money.
You ever watch the show Modern Family?
Nope.
Yeah, so I never did either. And we try to find some 30-minute thing we can watch every day.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, my daughter's writing me with tech support things now. And it's hard finding something that's good, right?
Yeah.
We've run the rack on all the shows that are truly good and worth watching, right? Seinfeld, Scrubs, whatever, all the good shows. And a bunch of people recommended this one to us, so we tried it, and it's fine. It's a sitcom, it's got all the stupid sitcom tropes, beautiful women married to plain men. People have to be smart in this situation and dumb in this situation, It's fine. You can kind of get over that. But there's one of the wives was just having a really bad day, and everything fell apart, and stuff was falling off of walls, and she finally yelled out this thing we've all yelled, which is that everything is shit. And I was like, yep. And that's what this is. This is the heartbreak that is personal technology,
Well, more personal technology is coming today with the Googles.
Yep.
Someone's got to be optimistic around here.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a material improvement. It's Google though, so they can, you can't trust their reliability stuff. We'll see. They're supposed to raise prices like everyone else. Arguably another form of enshittification. It's hard to say if it's warranted or not, but we'll see. I mean, they'd really have to screw it up for me not to order a Pro, right? But it's Google, so I'll hold out that chance. You never know.
Well, at least maybe this time you can order the right size case. Maybe.
Baby steps.
Someone's got to stab back. I mean, you've been doing a lot of stab. I'm just
sure.
Trying to be.
I listen. I try to be as open about my own flaws as I can be. I mean,
the other interesting thing that happened yesterday actually came from Google, where they're talking about this new, getting, as you said, serious about unwanted bulk email.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in there, especially from the Stardock side. We'll have to make some changes. I'm not losing sleep over this, but the thing I found interesting is that they partnered with Yahoo. Not Outlook, not the other large email service, Yahoo, to build out this functionality. So that was...
Well, I think they want to make it a standard of sorts, right? And you got, I don't know how many Yahoo accounts. I guess, did AOL say no? I mean, it's like, obviously, when you hear this, when you think about the space, you think Microsoft. And there is a continued dysfunction, and I believe it's pretty one-sided on Google's part, to just not working with Microsoft,
Yeah.
If you talk to the browser guys in Chromium, I bet they would be very complimentary to Microsoft. They've pretty bald-facedly just taken features from Edge, and I think they like the work that Microsoft's doing in that space, but they're like this tiny little part of the company down in the corner. And from the leadership on down, there's just this institutional distrust and hatred of Microsoft, which is based on 20-plus-year-old behavior, completely different company, completely different time, and it sort of ignores the fact that Google today is so dominant in so many areas. Then again, the CEO of Microsoft just showed up and crapped all over them in court.
It's not going to get any better,
is it? So, So there you go.
Yeah, you don't want to work with Apple either. Well, I mean, you're paying them a lot of money, so maybe they would be more.
I know. I bet they do want to work with Apple, actually, and because the stuff that came out in court was very complimentary to Google, right? From Apple, it's a weird thing. You get these guys on the stand, they have to tell the truth, and Apple's a lot more complimentary to Google than you would think from their public stance, and Microsoft is a lot more critical than you would think from their public stance, right?
Oh yeah, I think there was definitely a time in Apple's history where they were really angry at Google, right? The whole Android thing.
They meaning Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah, Steve Jobs. Like the whole Android thing was obviously a big issue for them. But now that we've gotten past like, okay, Android's going to exist and iOS is going to exist and they're going to be happy side by side in a marketing sense, marketing speak. They're no longer really enemies because like they've got their established base. It's not going to change much.
There's a symbiotic relationship there,
It
right?
is.
Like, yeah, I understand Apple not being happy with Google copying them with Android. I mean, who wouldn't understand? That's understandable. Right. But on the other hand, their existence now, first of all, Apple is in devices and that stuff is infinitely more profitable than Google is. So they, in the United States, own like 50% of the market somehow, which is incredible, whereas it's more like 20% everywhere else in the world or in other places, or less, I don't know. And they're in a great place, right? So the existence of Google is and vice versa, actually, in this space, is the excuse you can use to regulators to justify your behavior. Because you can say, well, they're doing the same thing. Or we have to do that. We don't have a monopoly, see? You don't have to hold us to this rule because these guys are 50% or 80%, depending on where we're talking about. So what's the question? I don't understand what you're complaining about. Google is the best thing that ever happened to Apple in the mobile space, as it turns out. And let's not forget the tens of billions of dollars a year they make off of search, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it would behoove Apple to work with Apple on this kind of email thing, right? It would benefit their users. Like, why wouldn't you do it? I don't know. Why don't they fix the green and blue thing in messages? That would benefit the users too, Brad. But there are these calculations you make, I guess, when you compete.